Hey B's and G's, Main Brew Guy. I am sitting outside. It's about 88 degrees here in the middle of October. Crushing on a blonde ale. I have some footage of the canning process, the new canning system that I have. I'm going to cut out now and show you the canning system. It's very basic. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. All right, we are canning today. I have already done a test batch of canning, set up the canner itself. I opted not to get the flywheel on mine because I'm going to automate this. I'm going to put a pulley on here, and then I'm going to use proximity switches on the two posts that move. They move in and out. So PLCs or programmable logic computers are probably overkill. I can make this happen with just some relay board and NAND gate or NOR gate chip on a breadboard. But anyway, I can cover that stuff at some other point. But that's it pretty much. You have to adjust the washers on the base plate for the cans that you're using. If you're using the 12-ounce cans, and a couple damaged cans on the moves that I've made, but see if we can use that one. There we go. So that's it. That's the can. Bucket of Star San. I threw some ice in there just to have the cans cool, so that the cool beer and the cool can don't foam too much. And then I will just sit it on the foam and can it. And we'll show that process in a minute. Purge the can. So I think if I had a little assembly line going, and that might be better, because that way the beer in this line wouldn't cool. So once it cools, it starts to foam on the first one a little too much. And I'm going to overfill these and let them ride over the top a little, especially this one because it's mostly foam on the. There we go. Oh, that might be too full. Yeah, that one was too full. Okay. This is the first one. so place it in there, the lid's on there, bring the crank over all the way, and then you just start turning. Oh, yeah. It goes around quite a few times. That's why I want to motorize it. You can see there's quite a bit of cranking to get the whole process to go through. And that's it. As soon as that other one pops off, it's done. So there's a gap tool as well, but I don't know, the gap tool really wasn't all that helpful. And I think Tyler might have said the same thing. And I'll have to look back. But it's a good seal. And just to be sure, while I'm here and these are cooling off, I'll go ahead and just place them upside down. And if I see any beer leaking out of one, then I'll know it's a bad seal. The adjustments on these things are rudimentary adjustments. So that positive stop adjustment is what you need to do to get the roller to do the basically the amount of pressure on the crush that you want on the can, not the crush, the seam rather. Same on this side. And it's just going to require you. It's going to require you to do a couple of cans. When you do it, I absolutely put water in the cans because they behave differently empty. The cans crush real easy when there's no, pressure against the sidewalls. You don't really get a good feel for the adjustment until you fill it with water. And then you just go through 3 or 4 cans. And it took me probably like 6 cans to really dial both of them in properly. It just depends how far off it is. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Again, I wanted to reiterate on the cans or bottles, ice water is the best, especially if you're transferring warm beer, then it's not a problem, but I don't recommend doing that. Cold beer will hold more carbonation than warm beer, so that if you're moving warm beer over, when you cool the beer, it actually loses some carbonation. So I wanted to give you a slow, well, before I go, I wanted to talk about the spacers. The spacers are just washers, okay, and they're different thicknesses. And it comes with some different thicknesses. So you play with the thicknesses of the washers to dial in the distance that the can pushes against this top piece here, which has got some knurling in it that fits perfectly, hang on, perfectly on the inside of the can right here. So that's the amount of pressure that's being applied here and downward without crushing the can. That's why you want to start with when you're doing your dialing it in, you want to use a full can of water. Okay, so I'm going to go slow. You'll see the hand come in, the arm rather. This one is the one that's actually pinching the top down and merging the two seams. There's a seam on the can too. When the second one comes in, it's folding it over, so there's no sharp edges. Now this can already had some dents in it, so there we go. And then when it comes around, come on now. So as you can see, I've got it right on the very edge of crinkling the can. If you start with a can that's got a little crinkle in it, it will crinkle on that spot if you're close enough. If you're too loose, it just just spins. So I don't know if you can see the seam, the way that can is folded over. It's folded over at a 90-degree angle. I hope that's focusing. All right, one more time. Purge the can. There we go. What I do like about the canning process, which I think is going to end up aging well, is there is no air left. Like when you see me squeeze that, see this one wasn't pre-crinkled, so it held its own. But you can see when I push the lid down, the rest of the beer squeezes out. So I'm not really getting. There's probably, if no oxygen, there's very little. Okay. Again, it's pretty flawless once you get it dialed in. Okay, I hope that helps get a better understanding of how this works. It's not that complicated. It's just getting it adjusted, getting these arms adjusted properly. Too much leaves dents in the can on the top, leaves oh, by the way, you do not want to crank this thing dry, because these rollers and this aluminum will not play well together. So never crank this dry. Always have a can in there. And it shouldn't really be that difficult to crank. And if it is, then you probably are too tight. But you'll know because the seam on here will start to dent the can, the bottom of the can portion. And if it's not enough, of course, it just leaks. You'll be able to tell because you'll squeeze the can with water in it and water will just start squirting out. Anyway, that's just my personal experience. Hope this helps. Make your decision on buying a canning system. All right, welcome back. So you can see the canning process is pretty much during bottling day. It's the same kind of thing if you're using a bottling gun. Same kind of mess. You know, if you manage the mess, it's fine. Same thing with bottles. If you chill down the water, the bottles are nice and cold. There's less foam. Same as the cans. It's just the canning process. So once that's automated, I can continue to fill, continually fill rather. And if I had another person in the room, they could be transferring the can from the canning machine and placing the new one on, and it literally could can a whole keg in probably, I would dare say, under 30 minutes. So it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to tackle that project. Anyway, I'll look forward to that video at some point before Christmas, I hope. I have the fermentation fridge is now down to temp, and it's now set up with cans. There's 3 different brews in there. But this is some of the stuff. There's the motor it's a DC motor for automating. And, real small items and pieces and parts that still haven't arrived, but, the on-off switch, it's just a press. It's momentary on. So to get the system to operate, the automation to start, you'll press it once. It'll go through one whole canning process, and then the motor will shut off. So I don't think I'm going to be brewing anything until the last week of October. And on the plate is a kettle towered saison. So that's my update. No, actually, I have one more item. I did decide to get the Blickman pump. So I did get that. I repurposed the other pump, which is going to work on the recirculation chill down unit for pre-chilling the water going into the plate chiller due to my groundwater temperature being so warm. And then I built this quick disconnect outflow temp meter for the output of the plate chiller. So yeah, that's about it. That's it for the new stuff for now. Future project upgrade would be this kegerator. I have a 3-tap tower there. It's going to be a 4-tap tower, the square one that sits like that, and then I'll just move the CO2 from within here. I'll plumb it outside, and that will give me room for 1 more keg. So I'll have 4 taps there. Not quite sure what I'll do with the 3-tap system. I don't think there's room in here for another kegerator at all. In fact, I want to get a refrigerator once I build a shed and get rid of some of this stuff in here. I want to get a stand-up refrigerator with a glass door for the ferminator. So it's a sickness, boys. That is my update, boys. Cheers, and remember, no one is smarter than all of us. Share knowledge, brew great beer.